So, all right.
At me at all.
Looks like
It hasn't gripped me one bit.
I guess we're live. Say hi.
Is it on me or?
It's on you right now. Say hi, Bob.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Robbie.
Hi, Michael Wood. This is the room, and we are all a little bit late. Bob is. Can they actually? They can hear me when we talk, right? Yeah. Bob. I can't remember our Periscope. Yeah. Bob will be manning the Periscope tonight, so I'm going to turn over the phone.
Okay.
Don't look at all the stuff I talk about, say about you. I'm kidding.
Okay. I'm just going to respond to all this stuff.
You can respond to it, though. I'll say hi. Hi, guys.
There's Rabia. She's get a look at the room.
I'm going to forward it now.
Rabia, did you want?
You got to do the whole thing?
I think she wants me to keep the whole thing going.
Yeah. I have no signal down here. So now Bob's being live to everybody.
I should turn this around for everyone to see.
Hearing our conversations.
All right, they're getting set up. This is Caitlin, everybody. This is Michael Wood's daughter, and Michael. And forgive me, I forgot your first name. Jess.
I'm Jess.
That's Jess, Michael Wood's wife. Obviously, I got in from Baltimore, so hopefully all the same people that look at my Periscope look at this one because I'm going to be manning Rabia's. So we're going to keep this streaming the whole time. I'm just going to keep it on Rabia, so maybe boring for a few minutes while we're getting set up, but things should be going very soon. Here we go.
See the program.
If I can figure out how to flip this around. Double tap. I don't need advice from you. That is Yusuf, that is Adnan's brother, walking up to the stage now, and that is Saad in the gray coat. And that's Adnan's mother next to Rabia.
الحمد لله رب العالمين رب السماوات ورب الأرض رب العالمين وله الكبرياء في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم أما بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك وصل على المؤمنين والمؤمنات وعلى المسلمين والمسلمات. Now let me say a few words. This program was scheduled in the Islamic Society of Baltimore, as you all know, and because the President Obama is coming to ISD, and they want to make sure that the space is secure, so we had to move the program over here. So two important things happening in this community. One is that the U.S. President, this is the first visit in his 8 years to the mosque. He's coming to Islamic Society of Baltimore. And second one is Adnan. And we hope that this appealing process goes through and he be released very soon. This is our intention and our dua. Now, myself, my name is Mahmoud Patel. And in 1999, when this happened, Mrs. Rabia Chaudhary is going to actually give you a briefly about the whole background. this was a huge challenge for us, for this community. Because something like that, actually, we never heard. And when this happened, the murder case and everything, we had to really bring the community together and mobilize the community to protect actually the Adnan. And we did our best at the time. And hopefully, this is part of the process now, that he will get the fair hearing, and inshallah, soon, he should be with us. Now, one thing that I said, that this is a perfect gathering. Perfect gathering means, see, when you look at the teachings of, I would say, Islam, and the origin of Islam is same as Judaism and Christianity. And when something like this happened, each of the scripture, whether it was from Abraham, Moses, Jesus, or Muhammad, talks about the same thing. And that same thing is that before we start the process, we should learn to proclaim the greatness of God at all times. And that greatness of God, and this is actually part of this process here, that we have gathered here for a briefing and making a dua, that a fair actually things happen in the court, and like I said, he's like our son now. I was younger then in 1999, I'm not that young anymore. I'm very old myself. And inshallah, we are hoping that before we get too old, we come out and join the community. And we want to thank actually, Adnan is standing right there, the president of the society.
Different Adnan, not the same.
That's a good point.
Scare people.
So Adnan Khan is president of the society. And we also thank board of directors here and the entire community to accommodate this event at Dalta. Dalta is another, alhamdulillah, very big community, and you can see from the structure itself. So it's similar to what we have in the Islamic Society of Baltimore. So with this brief introduction, we can start and we can actually hand over to Rahman.
All right, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I'm going to stand so everybody can see me and so I can see everybody. And good evening. Thank you guys all for coming. This was supposed to be done. I had told the film crew I would do this before we actually got started and I forgot. But basically there is a film crew, there's other media, but there's also a film crew that's kind of floating around. If for some reason you have like really strong reservations, you don't want to be on camera, just pop over to one of them and say, don't put me on camera. But other than that, I just want to get started. We have a hard break at 7:55 when the call to prayer happens, and we'll eventually go upstairs and pray together. You sure? Let me just start by saying, it took a lot to get here. It took a lot to get here. And what's remarkable is that, this is not an appeals process that got us here. We lost the appeals process. It took Sarah Koenig, it took Serial, it took the media, it took thousands of people, it took a lot of people donating, it took Undisclosed, it took Susan Simpson, Colin Miller, people who couldn't be here. It took people like Bob Ruff, who is right here, by the way. This is Fire Chief Bob Ruff, who spent a year on his own investigating the case and did dozens of episodes on his own podcast. It took people like Michael Wood, who was here, and Michael Wood was with Baltimore City Police, who was calling people's attention to the injustice in the criminal justice system and to police reform. There are so many layers in the story that have caught global attention, and it's come at a really fascinating time because now we have the president talking about prison reform, and I feel like it was meant to happen now. But I want to thank all of you for coming. I know there are people here who have never ever met Adnan in their life, and I know there are people here who have known him since he was a child. So it shows, and right now, how many people we got on Periscope? I'm sure there's a lot of people watching on Periscope.
400 right now.
400? Okay, we can do better. Gotta tweet that out. I'm all over the social media. So I want to basically spend about 10 minutes briefing you about kind of what happened and how we got here.
And then we are going to, Yusuf Sayed, who's Adnan's younger brother, is going to say a few words. My brother, Adnan's one of his closest friends, is going to say a few words. Adnan's attorneys, two of his attorneys, are on their way. They had to wrap up work and they're trying to get in here from downtown. We'll take Q&A and, you know, it won't be long. 7:55, we got to wrap up. So, in 1999, Adnan was arrested for the murder of Ayman Lee. And as everybody probably knows now, Hay and Adnan went to Woodlawn High School together. And Hay disappeared on January 13th, 1999, and her body was found about a month later in Lincoln Park. And just a couple of weeks after that, they arrested Adnan. Now, when that happened, the community really, really rallied. ISB, the Islamic Society of Baltimore, really rallied around the family. They raised a lot of money for his defense. They did the best they could to get the best attorney they could. Did not work out later, but at the time, you know, her reputation was stellar, and that's what the community was working with. I was in law school, and I was in Virginia. I didn't live here, but my family lives in Baltimore. So that's how I knew. I knew Adnan through my brother, and I was just kind of following the case from a distance because I figured, I knew that, you know, they had an attorney in the community. Anyhow, Adnan's first trial began in December of '99, and within a number, like 3 or 4 days, it ended in a mistrial. A second trial began in January of 2000. It lasted about 5.5 or 6 weeks, and he was actually convicted the same day that they arrested. So it was a Friday morning, I think it was February 25th, and the state rested their case. They gave the closing arguments, the defense rested. The jury broke to deliberate. We all went to lunch, and we thought, you know, it might take a few days, a few weeks. It's a major case. There's no evidence other than his eyewitness. His testimony is really, really shady. Within like 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours, we were called back and they had found him guilty. From the day Adnan was arrested, to the day he was convicted, to the day he was sentenced, to this day he has maintained his innocence. And this is very important to remember. People tend to think that, you know what? A jury of his peers, or not really his peers, a jury of people found him guilty and it must mean something. There are tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of innocent people in prison around this country. It doesn't take a lot. It takes one person to say that person did it. And to make sure that you can't save yourself. You don't have an alibi. That's all it takes for you to go to prison, okay? So, for a lot of us, you know, we should think, but for the grace of God, it could happen. It really could happen to anybody. He's maintained his innocence, and the only reason that I have believed him is not, it's important that he's maintained his innocence. To me, it's important also. He said it publicly in the courtroom twice. He said it. He never got a chance to speak at his trial. He wanted to testify, and his lawyer said no. And that's very common. Most criminal defense lawyers will say don't testify. Because, you know, the prosecution can really trip you up. He didn't testify. The only 2 times he got the chance to speak was after he was convicted, and they put the handcuffs on him, and he turned around, and he said, Allah knows that I didn't do this. Everything will be okay. And then the second time he got to speak was when he had to say to the sentencing judge that he was innocent. And he still got life plus 30 years. And he was a juvenile at the time, and he had no priors. And it was an unconscionable sentence. And he had no criminal record, no violence. And the 17 years he's been in prison now, he's never had an altercation in prison. He has a pristine record. Anyway, after his conviction, a direct appeal was filed in 2002. A direct appeal can only challenge technical faults in the case, like, you know, during the proceedings, if a judge makes a motion, you want to challenge, the judge makes a ruling, you want to challenge, evidence was admitted that you want to challenge, but you cannot raise new evidence. Now, we found out about Asia McClain right after he was convicted, but you couldn't present that in direct appeal. We had to wait for the post-conviction. 2003, the direct appeal was denied. And then we started, I have letters from Adnan in that time period afterwards where he's talking about how to raise the money for the post-conviction appeal. It took time to raise the money. It took us a number of years to get the money together, to get for his family to have the money. It costs a lot of money. I think so far in Adnan's defense, and I want you guys to think about this, we're all taxpayers here. I think Adnan's defense, we've paid out at least $300,000. $300,000. Right? Is that about right? 300,000, I think, at least. And the state has maybe paid much more, right? I mean, we're spending millions of dollars. They're still fighting this, spending all this money to keep this guy in prison. when it's so obvious that this was all contrived. So they raised the money, and we started looking for a lawyer. We found Justin Brown, and Justin began preparing. It took him a year and a half to prepare. He filed the post-conviction petition, I think it was in 2010? 2010. We filed the petition in 2010. The hearing wasn't until 2013 or 14. It took years, basically, to get the hearing. At that hearing, Asia didn't come. For those of you who've been following the case, you might know what happened. She didn't come. Of course, we had been waiting all these years to get her in front of a judge. And when she was contacted by Adnan's lawyer, she didn't know what happened. Like much of the community, by the way. When Adnan was convicted, most of the community wasn't at the trial, right? It's like during the work week, so they don't know what happened in court. They have no idea why he's convicted. They just know he got convicted, so maybe there must be something there. That's all that Asia knew. So Asia didn't know what happened. She contacted the state. The state referred her to Kevin Urich, who was the prosecutor at the time of Adnan's trial. And according to Asia's statements and her new affidavit, the prosecutor himself told her, do not come and testify. Like, you don't need to come. Like, ignore these people, as we're trying to get her to come and repeat what she said in 1999, or 2000. The prosecutor himself, I mean, I call this tampering with a witness. So he prevented her from coming. Then Cyril happened and Asia heard it. She heard it. Because of the fact that Asia didn't come, we lost the post-conviction. In January 2014, we lost 2015. Is this 2016? No. It was 1 year ago, right? Or was it 2? Okay, I'm doing an excellent briefing job. I have all my dates in order. I'm so glad I'm not going to be the one litigating this tomorrow. The point is we lost. We lost it because Asia didn't come. Then the following year, Asia heard Serial and she came back. And she said, that's not what happened. I still stand by my statement. And so, we immediately after we lost the appeal, filed something called a leave to appeal the denial of the post-conviction. It's very, very convoluted. But the point is this, that only 1.2% of cases that file that get granted. And alhamdulillah, it was granted. So that's where we are now. And the higher court of special appeals has sent the case down to the same judge who denied us the post-conviction to hear Asia's testimony, and we will hear it this week. I assume the state will call the prosecutor, Kevin Urich, and to rebut her testimony. There have been a lot of things that we discovered. When I say we, I mean me, Susan and Colin, mostly Susan and Colin, as we, for the last year, investigated the case and did our podcast Undisclosed, including evidence that the prosecutor withheld a cover sheet from a fax that AT&T had sent them. And the fax cover sheet said that incoming calls are not reliable for location. And much of this case rested on this technology where they used Adnan's phone calls to kind of track where he was, but it shouldn't have been like that. Especially the incoming calls were the ones that really helped to convict him. So the prosecutor had that cover sheet and he removed it. And we know this now. So the court's going to hear all these things for the next 3 days. We're going to have the witnesses. The best thing we can hope for is that the judge orders a new trial. Although I will say this, that if the judge orders a new trial, I think
time and then all the circumstances following with Serial and so on. It looks like everything's coming full circle, and hopefully the truth is coming to light. So if I'm in trouble, I'm kind of,
One of the most painful things for me to watch about how much you care about him, about how much you're upset about his defense. I've lost sleep over this because I say thank you, and we appreciate your support, and we love you all. When Adnan was convicted, my mom, she thought that he was gone forever. We all thought he was gone forever. But little did we know that God sent us a family that was there to help us. That's the Chaudhry family. They were always there for us. especially Rabia. What many of you don't know is that Rabia did this from scratch. While she was in law school, while she was taking her bar exam, while she was raising 2 beautiful daughters, she was also at the same time helping Adnan. I'll never forget when I spoke to Adnan, I was talking about how great, alhamdulillah, Rabia is and how blessed we are to have her. Adnan told me, Yusuf, it's like I'm hanging from a cliff and I'm about to fall into the darkness and be forgotten. And Rabia is the only one holding my hand, making sure I don't fall into the darkness and making sure I'm not forgotten. So, I would also like to thank Saad Chaudhry, who was the one friend of Adnan who would always visit
Turn
him,
it on my
always
Periscope
write
if you're
him
having
letters,
connection issues.
always answer his phone calls.
Her phone's locking up.
And when Adnan went away to prison, I thought, I lost my brother and I was all alone. But little did I know, I had another brother who would take me to movies, would invite me to, and would take me out, and that was Saad, because he was always there for me. There's no way we could thank them for everything they have done. And especially Sarah. We can't thank Sarah enough for reporting the story, but we also can't thank Colin Miller, Susan Simpson, and Bob Ruff for investigating what happened. Something that gets lost in all of this is the victim, the person who lost their life, and that's Heyman Lee. She was born October 15, 1980, and she would have been 35 years old if she was alive today. Justice for Heyman Lee does not exist until we get the truth. There are too many holes in this story. There's too much going on, prosecutorial misconduct. There's too many stories being changed, too many different versions. And we can't get justice for her until all the people responsible for this are held accountable. And know that justice for Heyman Lee is justice for Adnan. And I just want to say thank you to you all, all of you all over the world, because when my brother was broken, you guys picked him up and you healed him. You didn't know him, but you cared. I let my mom go on my Facebook page and see all the comments you people wrote, see all the messages. She was up till 2 a.m. reading it, crying. And I just want to say thank you so much for everything. It really means a lot, and there's no way to repay you all. Thank you.
I don't know if the non-attorneys made it or not. I don't think they did. 7:40, okay. Even if they make it by 7:55, we'll give them a few minutes. But Bob, can I trade places with you for a minute and just say a few words? Bob literally just landed like 2 hours ago. And I would love to just for you to tell people why you started investigating this case completely on your own and spent so much time doing this.
Something you guys don't know about me is that I'm not exactly the tough guy that I sound like on the radio, so I'm probably going to cry. This has been a really, really emotional experience for me. Just landing in Baltimore today, this has been, I feel like Robbie and I are old friends, and we've been working together for almost a year now. And the first time I met her was about 20 minutes ago. But the thing that's really amazing for me, I can go over the case with you guys, and you've all heard it so many times, but what's amazing to me, and this is the part that's going to make me cry, is this, and that, and that. I had to grab my phone because your phone was crashing Periscope.
Oh.
There was too many people. And so I turned my phone on, and my phone was crashing Periscope because there was too many people. And so Michael turned on his phone. There's people from all around the world supporting this cause. And I want to thank the, forgive me if I don't use the correct terminology, but the Muslim community for welcoming us all into your facility. And that's kind of the part that's so amazing to me is, like Yusuf said, there is support from all over the world. And it's all races, all religions, all the things that divide our country and our world. Adnan Syed's case has brought all these people together for one cause. I look in this room, and I look on those phones, and I just see nothing but love.
Of this Truth and Justice podcast, he recently started a new case that he's investigating of another wrongful conviction. And
On the spot?
I am putting you on the spot. Could you please?
All right, sir.
Now, for you guys who don't know who Michael Wood,
it doesn't matter. But now that Sarah and Rabia brought a nod to us, we were able to.
yes. Oh, that's okay. For people who didn't hear the question, I actually don't have an answer. But the question was, of the 1.2 cases that are essentially given leave to appeal the denial of post-conviction, how many are successful? I don't know. But even if it's only, let's say, 50% is probably aiming really high. I'm going to guess maybe 10%. I can't imagine it being higher than that. Because once you are convicted by the system, it is almost impossible to turn back the hands. It is almost impossible. It is literally the same system over and over, right? So it's you versus the state every single time. So out of 1.2%, if even 50%, which is really, aiming really high and realistic, that's a tiny, think about what is that? That's like 6%. It's a ridiculously small amount of appeals that actually go through maybe.
What's the alternative to an Alford plea?
The alternative to an Alford plea is that what is the situation in which, imagine if the court, the alternative is you go to trial, right? Now, the state, I don't think the state can refuse to go to trial if the court orders it, right? They have to, unless they get a plea offer and Adnan or the other side accepts it. And most of the time people accept it. Because what you're talking about with another trial is hundreds of thousands of dollars more. It is years and years of your life in prison more, just waiting for that trial to happen. And so even like in the West Memphis 3 case, which by the way is, I don't know if you follow that case, but that is the case, and the movie was West of Memphis that I saw that inspired me to get hold of media for this. That's what happened with them, eventually. When it was pretty much proven to the world that these guys were innocent, the state, they didn't drop charges. They should have dropped charges and reopened that case. They didn't do that. They offered them an Alford plea, and it is what it is. They're all out, but it's a shame. It's a shame for the victims. Any other questions? No? Yes.
Does Justin Brown plan on calling Garrett to stand?
Justin Brown. I actually don't know the full witness list. I know some of the witnesses on the list. I don't think Justin will call, I can't imagine he would call. He wants to make his case, right? And his case is going to be made by Asia. Asia's testimony is going to be solid because Asia has literally said the same thing for like 16 years. Like her statement
then didn't change her letter from her letters to Adnan to the affidavit she gave me to the new affidavit is all, even when she told Sarah on Serial. The only thing is that she never realized the significance of it. So I would imagine the state would call Uric to rebut her testimony. You know, I mean, they would want Uric to come on the stand and say, no, I did not prevent her from testifying, and that's not what happened. So it wouldn't be for Justin to call him, it would be for the state.
You don't think the cell phone issue is important?
With Uric?
Yes.
I mean, the problem with the cell phone issue is that I think the real issue, because I do know that both sides are calling cell phone experts, so I think they're going to look at the meat, they're going to look at the substantive issue here. Not so much whether or not he got rid of the thing, because I don't think Justin made the case for prosecutorial misconduct. I do think he just put it out there, and I know it was mentioned, but the fact that both sides are calling expert witnesses, technical witnesses, means that they're going to talk about what those cell phone tower pings actually mean. You know, that's what it's really going to be the issue of, did that have an impact on the trial or not?
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah, there's a question.
Is it true that Adnan's case is going to be featured on How to Make a Murderer?
On How to Make a Murderer? Oh, the Netflix series?
There's been a lot of humbug.
That's actually not a rumor that I've heard. I've heard a lot of rumors. No, not to my knowledge. No, we have nothing to do. Although I totally support Stephen Avery, by the way, and his attorneys, and I hope Kathleen Zellner is able to overturn his conviction. But no.
Robbie, a listener wanted to know if anyone knows how Adnan's feeling about the trial or the hearing.
I will let his family answer that.
It was funny, I think on Monday or Sunday, I received a call from him, and I was asking him, he's like, he felt, pretty happy that we have a lot of strong issues. And he just felt really hopeful, and he seemed in good spirit.
And I think, I don't know. I actually haven't talked to him in like 10 days. And then he actually got moved yesterday to Jessup because the prison he is held at, normally Cumberland, is really far. So for the next 4 or 5 days, he'll be at a local prison so they can bring him back and forth to the courthouse. But I can imagine that this will be the first time really the world sees Adnan since Serial happened. And I'm sure I would be nervous. I'm sure he's nervous. But I think we're all nervous, and at the same time, we're all hopeful. Right? Okay. Is there anything? Any more questions? Yes. I'll tell you, if you don't mind, because you've had one before, I'm going to go back there and spot you.
First off, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So my question for you is that, do you have any updates on Adnan's health status? Because I remember on Facebook he was sick.
Yeah, so what happened was my husband and I visited Adnan back in early December, and when we walked into the room, it was really weird because he wasn't, usually you walk into the visiting room, he'll turn around and come up, but he was just like staring at the wall, and we were like, what's wrong with him? So when we approached him from the front, I'm like, are you angry? Is something wrong? And he then told us that he either had a pinched nerve or something had happened, so he couldn't move his neck, he couldn't move his shoulders, he even had trouble like moving his head up and down. He was just like sitting there. And he was hoping, at the time that it would be like something that would just go away over time, but I don't think it has. They did give him different meds, and so far nothing is really helping. This is prison. I mean, they don't take you for fancy treatments. They did tell him that they're going to provide some physical therapy at some point. He hasn't gotten it yet, as far as I know, which means, I've been thinking about this. So for the next 3 days, it is the first time the world will see Adnan, but he might look really weird because he's going to be like stiff as a board, I assume, if he's still in pain. So he has had a lot of chronic pain, or a lot of pain is not I think called chronic pain, but it's a lot of pain. I haven't heard that his condition has improved actually. Yeah. Last question, yes.
With the momentum that hopefully you'll gain at the end of this trial, are there any plans to maybe use that momentum to petition the legislature to change, how, the Brady violations and things like that can affect,
Yeah, that's a really good question because
Michael is here because, other people are interested in this case, not just because of, Adnan's personal story, but because of the systematic abuses that take place and the things that happen in the system that, we just don't address. I mean, the fact that we have dozens of videos of police officers killing young black men on camera and they don't even get indicted is an issue. So I totally agree with what you're saying, that after, I hope, we are successful with Adnan's appeal, that we are able to, at least on a state level in Maryland, bring some accountability. And what I think is important is that people who are in power should be held accountable, so that prosecutors who withhold evidence should lose their licenses. They should not get to practice law ever again. So that officers who withhold evidence or who threaten witnesses or who, whatever, that they never get to, serve as police officers again. The problem is we have no accountability. Nothing happens to a prosecutor, even if it's been proven in court that he withheld evidence, that he knew that somebody else committed a crime. Like, nothing will happen to that prosecutor. And even the current prosecutor in Adnan's case right now, he is the Assistant Attorney General of the state of Maryland. Thiru is his first name. I call him Thiru. Right now, he has been charged with withholding evidence of a man's innocence in another case, which resulted in an innocent man going to prison for murder. And he knew, he was told by a witness that this guy didn't do it. I saw somebody else kill the victim. And this is the prosecutor tomorrow who